Welcome to Encountering Christ, a podcast about meeting Jesus in the ordinary moments of life and learning how to invite others into those encounters as well. Each episode explores practical ways to recognize Christ at work in our daily rhythms, grow in our faith, and engage the people around us with grace and truth and love. Whether you're at home or on the road or in a quiet moment of reflection, our prayer is that this time helps you see and share Christ more clearly. This morning, we're beginning something new together. It's a new adventure for me and maybe for you too. A simple Monday through Friday daily podcast centered on faith and real life. So before we go any further, let's ask the most important question. Where does God meet us in the middle of our everyday lives? My hope is that this becomes a daily space, one that helps both you and me invite the living God into the rhythm of our everyday lives. That's really the heart behind all of this. So with that in mind, we're calling this Encountering Christ. In each short episode, my prayer is to share a simple truth about God and the Christian life, something that you can carry with you, reflect on, and let shape the way you move through your day. So to that end, I thought it would be good to go through what is called a systematic theology. And I know that's a boring word, but it's a systematic look at the truth of God, which when fully accomplished, will provide a foundation for understanding God in your life. The truth of God better understood, not just in knowledge, but in practice. Now, I'm going to be using the outline provided by the Systematic Theology book written by Wayne Grudem, and we're going to go through the subjects in bite-sized pieces so that we can absorb God's truth into our everyday lives. But where do you begin with something like that? Well, you have to begin with God, and that automatically presents a problem. That's like saying to an ant, if you want to know about humans, begin with humans. You see, the ant isn't equipped in any way to understand humans. They aren't built for that. You see, there's too much of a gap between the ant and the human. There's no way that an ant could even begin to understand humanity. You see, that's the same problem we humans have when it comes to understanding God. In Isaiah 55, verse 8 and 9, God says just that. He says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." In other words, we cannot know God from us to him. If we are going to know him at all, it must be from him to us. Not only that, if we're going to know him, he'll also have to provide for us the mechanism or the capacity or the ability to at least understand something of him. And this is what makes us different from the ant. You see, even if we tried to communicate with the ant doesn't have the capacity to understand or learn about humans or God for that matter, not in a personal sense. And why not? Because, I presume, God did not create them with the capacity to do so. However, and this is no small fact, God did create humans with the capacity to know something of him. And when I say something, what I mean is that we don't have the capacity to know the fullness of God, but we can know something of him. We can know things about him. And incredibly, we can know him. And so we can know enough about him to be saved and to be in a personal relationship with him. Here's what I mean by that. If you had a large circle, and say that large circle represents the fullness of who God is, the question is, how much of that is knowable by humans? In other words, if I could deem that this is everything that God is, how much of that can I know? And that's what the small dot in the middle represents. Here's the reality. We have no idea how big the dot in the middle is, and we have no idea how much of God we can know. All I know is this: I cannot know everything of God. I simply do not have the capacity or ability to do so. And how do I know this? Because that is what God revealed to us. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So today, as we begin this incredible journey, we do so with humility, knowing from the outset that we can know nothing of God unless He gives us the ability to do so. And what He has told us is that there is way more of Him than we could possibly ever know, especially as humans. So today, as you go, just consider the vastness of God. And at the same time, consider how small you and I are in His vastness. Yet, even in this great divide, He still loves you personally. I'm not sure I can truly fathom that kind of love. But today, let's try. Take God with you today. Think about the vastness of God. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.